streaming as we talk.
We're streaming as we speak. What's that mean?
Am I in the shot?
Oh,
if I'm
yes, I
eating
know.
here?
No, no. Well, yes. You can go sit at my place if you
Well, you
want.
don't have a speaking role for much. I guess you do for a little bit.
I'll drag it on till you're done eating.
Really? I'll eat this later.
Okay, Nathan's eating, so I'm going to talk very slowly. Okay, any questions left? Any Vost questions or things like that? I'm respectfully going to let you know that while Nathan and I would love to have any of you agree to be part of our Vost, and we'd like to hog all of you, Shannon is out there in La La Land, and she is saying, PNW3 would really like more Vostis too. So there's a lot of work to go around, a lot of help is needed. And you know, one of the best ways to learn how to set up a Vost and what you want them to do and how it works is to become part of a Vost and then work in a room for a fire or an incident or something, or go through a training, and then you'll understand how that, what I call the underwater portion of it works, how a lead interacts with other people. And you know, and it's kind of funny because Jeff, I really have tried to stay out of the underwater portion. And sometimes someone will ask something in the Skype room like, do you want me to post this also to the something or other? And I'll say, yeah, go ahead and post it, you know, everywhere. And Jeff will come on, my lead, and he'll go, sidebar. That means go out of the room to where the two of us are talking, and he'll go, stay out of the Vost room. I'll take care of it. Like, I'm sorry, I have to learn not to direct them to let your lead take care of managing all those people and where they post, and because it's for me to come in and start mucking around in what he's doing is not what you're supposed to do. 2 minutes.
Oh, I still have time to eat.
Yes, keep eating. I got 2 minutes and then I have all of this.
I don't mind if it's streaming. I just don't want to record it.
No, turn your volume off. You'll be fine. So, no questions in here? Hey, you know what? I'll bring this up as long as we're still in the Vost thing that Sean mentioned this. I think you need to be very cautious with the Vost. The main concern, like I know they would have in New York, would be what? You're going to have all these people that we don't have control over who are using our information and doing God knows what. That's why clear leader's intent is important. Very clear, written leader's intent. That's why you spend time working offline with people, so that they're very clear about what they should and shouldn't do. I have had some PIOs feed their lead Vost and the Vost a lot of information about, like, the talking points for the season, or stuff about tankers, or things like that. And I've said, be very careful. You are not making them PIOs. They don't have to know anything about what you're doing. They need no subject matter expertise on this at all. I need them for their technical expertise. So you want to be careful that you really don't need to educate them about everything you're doing. All you need is for them to help you build pages, post information. They should not be answering questions. They're monitoring for questions, and then they feed them into the Skype room, and then you answer them one way or another. So Nathan says they give him the question, he goes in and answers them. If I have time, I will, but if I don't, I write the answer, and I say, this is what you may post in as the answer. So, and they have to log in, so they're posting as ABC Fire, not posting as themselves. So, you know, you give them whatever permissions, and they're not writing anything. They don't make up anything. They don't decide what they're going to do about anything. Everything comes back to you. You still make all the decisions. You still write all the messages. Another question I get asked is, what happens if one of them goes rogue? And I'm like, what does going rogue mean? I'm feeding them public information. I mean, it's information I want them to share. I mean, what are they going to do with it? So, any more than any other member of the public would do something with it. So, okay, it's 1 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and start this afternoon session. Stand back in my better light. We're talking now about what we call other third-party tools. And by other third-party tools, those were the things we were talking about. They're not the native tools. It isn't Twitter that I go on and work in Twitter. A third-party tool is TweetDeck. It's those things that were designed to work with the native tool. And you know, people are constantly developing applications. Twitter, like I mentioned before, is the one that has 9 gajillion apps you can work with that will do something with Twitter. And again, I want to reiterate, you cannot be good at them all. You'll hear about one. I hear about one. I think, I go to Google, I look at it, I might download, I might play with it, and I'm always thinking, how does this fit into my communication strategy? It is not, oh, that looks, I use Snapchat with my daughter so I could see if there was a way to use it. And when there wasn't, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't really care about Snapchatting. It had no application in my world, so I don't pursue it. You need to know enough about the tool to decide whether it ought to be used or not be used. So you spend a little time, give yourself once a week. You go look at a tool and decide if you can do with it, and then let it go. So you hear about tools that are, you started hearing more about Instagram. All of a sudden, Instagram was everywhere. Everyone's talking about Instagram. I thought, all right, I'm going to have to go see what this is about. So I got an Instagram account, and then I experimented with it, and then, so I know what it's for now. I don't use it very often, but I see its application. I like the idea of having these Instagram meetups for photo situations, like we talked about, maybe camp tours. Maybe there's a place we can drive a group of, let's see, sometimes we take city dignitaries, the city council, and on the road, and we drive them through a fire area so they can see what's actually happening and then talk about it to their community. Sometimes we do it before a public meeting, etc. So what if I took all those people, I haven't done this, it's just what occurs to me. What if I took that group of people and I said, use Instagram or photos in some way, take pictures as you're going, and then upload them to whatever hashtag we decide on, and then we can bring that up at the public meeting that night and show the pictures that their leadership took of what they saw. When it comes from the people in their community that they trust, that's the thing you're trying to do, is harness the tools people are already using to make your own case. And in this case, we would harness them using those to show to the city. Lots of ways. You just have to decide. You can't be good at all of them. We've given you the backbone. And I'll give you the order. If you can't do anything else, monitor. Learn one or two tools that'll let you monitor. And you need to be able to monitor both the internet and things like blogs and Facebook pages. You need to learn how to do that. If that's the last thing you do, okay. The next thing I would work on, I would build is a Twitter account. If you can do nothing else, monitor and Twitter. All of this depends on how many people you have. If you can't do anything else, if you can do some other things, Facebook, Twitter, and monitor. And then you add something, probably Blogger, to that. Now it takes people. It takes people. So, if you're not really good at it and can't build it all quickly yourself, you're going to need people. You either have a VOST. Maybe, you can also have a VOST made of PIOs who are at home. I've called up other PIOs and asked if they, when I didn't have the VOST, and asked them if they would build the page for me. They're sitting in their office. They're not on a fire yet. They just build one for you, and off you go. Get help where you can. And again, we talked about practice at using personal things, your gardening club, your anniversary, the PTA. Use something that's happening in your life to learn how to use these things. And pick through the tools that, Pinterest worked for me, Vine didn't work for me. That's okay. I just hear about them, I try them. So we're going to talk a little bit about, Nathan, is about how to actually use some of these third-party tools.
So we're going to look at quite a few tools. Actually, not very many. I have about 5 that I'd like to try to get through. We only have about a half hour for this session, and then about a half hour to practice. I'll probably go into some of the practice time a little bit, just so that you guys can see a few more tools. At this point, I'd rather you see what's out there than actually practice doing it. The take home then would be for when you go home, if you liked something that you saw, jump on it and try to play with it. Before I do that, I want to make sure everybody knows, again, for online people, if you go to this folder, bit.ly/SMEM training 15, there is a whole bunch of documents in this folder that you can use to help follow along in this presentation. And one of those documents is called the mobile app list. So if you opened up your folder, this is what the folder is going to look like. Come on down here to mobile apps list. And this is a work in progress list that actually has not been updated since November 2014. So there's a bit of work that should be done to update this. But I threw this together real quick just to kind of list a few different apps that are out there. And many of them we've already gone over. And you can just kind of go through here. Wait for my screen to load up. There we go. Top one, we start with video chat conferencing apps. Talked about FaceTime. Well, I don't think we talked about it, but somebody else brought it up in here. Google Hangouts. I do all of my virtual operations support team trainings through join.me. which is a webinar app. We pay a little bit of money, or one of our partners pays a little bit of money each month to host those presentations. Skype we've talked about. There's a whole bunch of other tools you can play with. Here's some emergency management specific apps you can play with. Red Cross has a whole bunch. FEMA has a whole bunch. Other things that you can get out there and play with. A list of all the Google products. Maps and navigation. I've been getting myself familiar with Waze. It's a community-based traffic and navigation app. If you're driving around, not in the driver's seat, if you're in the passenger seat, you can report all sorts of different things. Although this, I believe it's this app that has come under some criticism, because on that app, people report the locations of police officers and where they're hiding out and whatnot. And so some people see a security concern there. Note-taking apps, social media platforms. We've talked about a lot of these, but a lot of these we haven't talked about. You can browse through there. Weather apps. The CDC has a whole bunch of different apps that they put together. So we have a list there. So feel free to check out all those apps. And then to make your brain explode a little further, if it hasn't already, here under my Twitter settings, if you log into Twitter and you come on over here to settings and you drop all the way down to apps, you'll see all of the different apps that you have given your Twitter account has given permission to use. So notice up here, I have not connected my Facebook account to this because I am of the philosophy that connecting your Facebook and Twitter account directly together is a bad idea. I know many people out there disagree with that. My thoughts and philosophy is auto posting from Facebook to Twitter or Twitter to Facebook doesn't work. So notice the top one here isn't connected, but I have a whole bunch of other apps. I keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. So there's a whole ton of different things that you could play with. Let me just scroll through here a little slower and I'll talk. I'm not going to demonstrate these, but I'm going to talk about a couple of them. Ustream, obviously, that's what we're using for Ustream. So Ustream, if you're logged into the chat, there's a little feature right to the left of the chat that says social stream. You can be tweeting right from that stream if you'd like. ArcGIS, that's when I connected my yesterday when we brought up the ArcGIS map, the public map. In order to get the tweets to show, I had to connect my Twitter account to the ArcGIS map. Waze, I can tweet from that social-based traffic app. Again, not while you're driving. Let's see, what else is here? Twitterrific, I use that on my iPad, an iPhone, as an app there. Paper.ly is a service, we might get into that one a little later, where I can actually have this service take one of those lists that we created. It'll scan through that list every Friday afternoon or every day in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. It'll scan through, find some articles that are interesting based on key searches that I put together, and then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon it'll tweet out and say, Peter Waddle's super awesome news list is out, and it will share stories by XYZ, and it will put together a little newsletter. And it's really impressive for people who don't know that, you know, all I did was have some little robot set that up for me. So that's something you could do. Tweetcaster is an application on the phone. Buffer is a service that you can use to schedule tweets and space them out. Thunderclap is a service that where you can put together a campaign, planning ahead of time in advance. And so say I want on July 4th, I want you to join my campaign so that on July 4th, we all can tweet out together, Happy July 4th, or whatever it is. It should be, based on the way they're set up, it should be much more of a social message. It should have some sort of a purpose to it. They don't let just anybody use this. And there's, I believe, some money involved with Thunderclap. Is that correct, Chris?
It's like anything, it's free to a certain
Yeah,
point.
like many of these tools, you can use free versions and then paid versions. Let's see here. I talked earlier yesterday about IFTTT. You can create these recipes. So let's say, for instance, that list. Everybody, I could go into IFTTT and say, anybody who's tweeting on the hashtag SMEMtraining15, I want you to throw them into this list. It can auto-create that list for you. And we go down and down and down. So just many different options out there. I'm going to show you one of the more powerful third-party applications that you can use to access not only Twitter, not only Facebook, but many other things. There it is. It's called Hootsuite. Now this is just one powerhouse tool that you can use. We already kind of showed you TweetDeck yesterday. I would say Hootsuite is TweetDeck plus a whole bunch more. A lot of people don't like to make the jump from TweetDeck to Hootsuite because TweetDeck is dealing just with Twitter, and that can become complicated enough for some people. And the interface on TweetDeck is pretty simple and easy to use. Hootsuite is pretty simple and easy to use once you've taken the time to learn it and practice it. So if you needed a new account, you'd come up here to sign up and you'd sign in. Or alternatively, you can sign in using your Twitter account, Facebook account, or Google account. All of that works. So you're going to come up. I've already set my account up, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. I have my password and whatnot already saved in here, so I sign in. Okay, you got a lot going on here. I'm going to scroll out so you can see everything that could come up on my screen. You got up here, these are all streams. Each one of these streams, just like on TweetDeck, is a separate term, a separate list, a separate something that I have manually come in and set up based on what I want to look at. But wait, there's more. It's hard to see, but up here at the top, let me zoom back in, there are tabs. Each one of these tabs has their own streams. So I can do all sorts of organization in here, however I like, to set this up. So there's a little upfront room time to get things set up the way you want to set them up. But this makes monitoring really simple because I can come in here and say, okay, I'm going to monitor that says emergency feeds. And these are all different Twitter lists that have been set up.
And I would add that this is a lot easier to set up and have as standard when you work for a standing agency that is in the same place. When you're on an incident management team or something, you're going to have to build your list when you get there because you don't know where you're going to be. So you can't really do that very well.
So the way I've set this up, and I don't have time to show you how to set it all up, but I've set up lists here, campaigns. So this was set up during the Colorado Emergency Management Conference. We did a social media exercise. So I set up my new little tab here that tracked the hashtags SEMA15 and what was the other tag I selected? I can't see it here. SEMA15 or SEMA15. So basically I was catching the people who were using the hashtag as well as the people who weren't using the hashtag is what I was trying to do there. We also used a hashtag called Remarkable Colorado. Notice how that stream is empty. One of the limitations on this tool is that it only goes back 7 days. So there was a lot of tweeting going on back during the conference on this tag, but the API only reaches back 7 days to pull data in. So that's one of the limitations on here. If I go to Twitter and type in Remarkable Colorado, you're going to see content pop up. So you can see all those different streams that you have. The other piece is why you use something like this. I can come in here and I can compose messages right from here. But notice, I have all of these options on the side here. Notice also that that's got the little blue bird. That's Twitter. That's a Twitter account. It's got the flag. That's a Facebook page. That's a Facebook page. It's got a kind of a square with gray, blue, and green. That is a Google Plus page. More Twitter accounts. More Facebook pages. I can post to Facebook groups. All of that stuff I can preload into here so that when I come and type my test message or whatever it is, I can say I want it to go to these people. So I can blast a message off to multiple places at one time. Now again, we talked about yesterday how it's really important to cater the message to the platform you're going on. So sometimes blasting off a message to all these accounts isn't the best thing to do. Sometimes it's best to write your message, send it off to the Twitter account first, then redraft the message and send it off to the Facebook page because you're going to draft it slightly differently. Right from in here, I can add links. I can schedule this so that it goes off whenever I want it to go off. I could add locations. If I'm doing Facebook, I could add privacy settings to say, okay, this is only going to go to my friends versus my whoever. Okay. Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate all this today. But next thing I want you to see, if you come up to the top here, it gets even more complicated, but it's complicated in a good way if you choose to use it for Teams. I can come in here and set up an organization. Now, granted, I've just now moved from the free tool. Everything I showed you prior to this was the free version of Hootsuite. Moving on to the teams is now we're moving into what's called the pro tool, and it does cost a little bit of money. We pay, it's not a ton of money to do everything that you're seeing here, but it's a little bit. And I might be able to show you how much it costs. I can't remember here. We're paying for 2 premium seats. It's not much at all. And I can manage this team here. So instead, these Twitter accounts belong now within the Hootsuite framework. These accounts, everything you see here, belong to the State of Colorado Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management Organization. I now then can, in theory, bring other Hootsuite account users in to build my team, and I can say, you know what, I need you to have access to the Ready Colorado accounts, but I'm not going to give you access to all of the accounts. So you notice, see how I have 2 teams up here? I can assign permissions, if you will, to my members. So you can manage your team. If you're working in a big structured organization, here's where you can start to get to the point where you can manage your team. You have access to XYZ Twitter account, but you don't have access to this Twitter account. However you want to set it up, that's completely up to you. So what else can I show you? Publisher. One of the neat things here is I can hit this bulk message upload, and it gives me this information in here. I can choose a file. For demonstration purposes, I'll find a file from Ready Colorado that I've used in the past. Let's go into, so with Ready Colorado, we put together social media templates, and we try to do these ahead of time so people can schedule them if they want. We put it together in this CSV format. It has to be in a very specific format. You pick whatever account you want it to give it to. And I'm going to pick an obscure account that we don't tweet on to very often here. Let's see, let's choose to go to here. I'm going to hit submit. But it doesn't like it because I picked a bad file. So basically, you have to be very specific in the file you pick. Let me try a different file. I'll try it one more time before I give up. Let's try January. Tweets for Hootsuite, open, submit. Clearly, I didn't practice this morning, earlier. Yeah, okay, so I'm not going to waste any more time, but basically what it's telling me is, oh, I know what the issue is with all these, and it's obvious to me now. Each one of these, the schedule, when it was supposed to be scheduled in that CSV file when I created it, is all scheduled to go last year when I created these files. So I would have to go in here and update the year. But if the year was correct, what would have happened is I would have just scheduled an entire month's worth of tweets. Something that you can do to save your time. Obviously, there's a lot of work up front to get it to the point where you want it's ready to publish. And again, the risk to doing this is, oh, I just scheduled all my tweets and now I don't need to do anything anymore. That's the risk. And I find myself doing that myself all the time. Oh, I got stuff going to that account. I don't need to watch it. Yes, you do. You need to watch it. It's about the two-way communication. This is not an excuse to just blast stuff off and forget about it. There are other things that you can do in here. You can build lists. You can follow people right from here in Hootsuite. That is all I'm going to share on this platform because I want to blast through a couple other things. But Hootsuite is a good option. There are other tools that you could use out there for the same concept. Social Bro is one of them. Trying to think of some other tools. There's quite a few other powerhouse tools out there that you can use. And if you just Google third-party Twitter applications, if you Google other Twitter tools, other Facebook tools and stuff, you'll start seeing a whole list of options show up. So that is that one. I'm going to show you Storify. Storify is one of my favorite applications because Storify, you can use it to create archives, to create stories. I'm going to go ahead and log in on an account I already have. Let's assume that I can remember these. It's been a while since I've come in here. Perfect. I remembered my password. Okay, so I'm in here under my personal Storify account, and I can hit here, new story. Just watch and observe because I'm going to move pretty quick, hopefully, if my computer can keep up. Right down here, it says plus, and it's not giving me all my options. And that's because we're having issues with seeing everything. Let's try it again. There we go. See all these options up here? I can do searches with all these different tools and pull content into my Storify. So I'm going to start my headline and say SMEM training 15 Twitter archive. Tweets sent during the SMEM training 15 training. That's not duplication at all. Redundant. So now I got some stuff going on here. Something important to keep in mind here, as soon as I hit save, my URL is going to be this. So I'm actually going to go ahead and get rid of this because I want my URL to be shorter, so I'm going to just say that much. And it should be auto-saving for me up here. I'm going to hide this. Now I'm going to come over here and click the little Twitter box. It says enter a keyword or hashtag. I'm going to enter in SMEM training and 15. See, it's thinking. Whenever you see this ... it typically means things are thinking. Hopefully it doesn't think for too long. Let's try this. There we go. So you can see all these tweets are showing up over here. And I can hit show more results. And my goal here is to try to drag in as many as I can in one shot. But the more you try to pull in, the more difficult it is for your computer to manage it. So it may not work out very well. And there we go, pulled in a few more. I did a search just before this on a Tags 5.0 account. Let me actually pull that up. See if I can find it. Here we go. While that's thinking, I'm going to pull into here. Twitter is not responding. Request timed out. When you try to ask Storify to do too much, that's what you're going to get. So for purposes of demonstration, I'll move on. There's a little button over here. I can say add them all. I can add them all. Or I could have just grabbed one at a time and pulled them over to select certain ones. So now I can see all these pieces are here. If I wanted to, I could move this story around and organize it however I wanted to. If I wanted to, I could come in here and say, hey, this tweet was really neat. And I have no idea what was below it, because I'm not paying attention. But the point is, you can highlight things and create a story. If you wanted to pull content in from Facebook, you could come over here from Facebook. It's not pulling anything at the moment, probably because I'm not logged in, I don't know. Instagram, how about that? I don't think anybody shared anything on SMEM training from Instagram. Why don't we try something else? There you go. So I could, in theory, come in and pull one of these into here. Hey, Tarantino for me. Anybody know who that is? That's Chris Tarantino. The name was brought up before. So Chris, if you're listening, you are now in our Storify. YouTube videos you can throw into here. Let's see. Pop that in. Look at that. Google Plus content, Google content, and there is also the section embed URL. So anything that's on a URL, you could come and bring in here. So that Ustream video, let's try to see if we can bring that in, the Ustream link. I need to get out of here before it gets in double loops. Copy and paste that in here, see if it'll find it. Let it think. There we go. So if for whatever reason you can't find the content you want with these preset options, you can put a URL in here. It'll try to find it, throw it in here, and that's exactly what I was hoping it would do. Now this stream, I could save this, and when I publish this live stream or this Storify, people can actually watch the live stream right here. So for purposes of demonstration, I will go ahead and publish this. I'm on my personal account, so I'm not too concerned about that. Hit publish. It's going to give you a couple options. Storify is published successfully. Yay, view and publicize it. So I'm going to hit view and publicize it. This is what it looks like now. These people are quoted in your story. Would you like to notify them? I could do that. And basically I'd have to come down here and I'd check each person and notify them. You've been quoted in my Storify story, and I can come and change this if I like. You've been quoted in the SMEM training Storify. So the point is you can change it up. Notice, however, my hashtag isn't in here. So I want to come in here and say, hashtag, bam. Notify. Let that think for a second, hopefully. Maybe, maybe not. It's frozen. There we go. So let's go to Twitter now. Look at that. Bam, these are all usernames that were mentioned in my Storify. Storify is pulling them out and saying, you've been quoted in my Storify. Guess what? We just did that. Here's what it looks like. And you see this view media here? This is really neat. Now, I can just come in here and see the whole Storify right here. So, hey, this beat was really neat. I remember typing that. So, this is just an example. You can do this just like that. I have,
I think you can do this just like that.
with a little bit of practice, you too can do this just like that. Notice none of this we have said, don't try this at home. We want you to try this at home. We talked a little bit about Bitly. I'm going to try to race through 3 or 4 more tools here. If I sign into my Bitly account here, I can sign in with Twitter. Notice I'm already signed in as myself. It's going to load up. Before we did all this, we set up this Bitly link, SMEM Training 15. Well, that's what it is right here. How did we get to that link? We took the link. I'm just going to grab any link. How about we grab this Ustream link again? Come on into here, paste it in here, let it do its thing. It's going to think. Then here you go. I could either share this link right here. Instead of this nice big long link, I could share bit.ly/1B56G6CR. Or I could say, you know what, I want to edit that. I'm going to say Ustream for SMEM training or something. Whatever it is, save that. Now, close that out. You type that in there, and really that's not any shorter than the original link, so this is a bad example. But the point is you can edit that little link. The other reason why you would want to use a Bitly link or something similar, there are many other tools. Hootsuite, for instance, will give you a link shortener.
I use TinyURL.
TinyURL is an option. This one will give you statistics. So I can tell you right now, let's zoom out a bit, that there have been 101 specific clicks on this link. Now, 101 isn't a lot. And the reason for that being we learned in the midst of this training that Bitly URLs are apparently case sensitive. Because we noticed how when I entered and saved this, the SMEM is capitalized. We kept trying to enter it with lowercase and it just wasn't going anywhere. We learned that they are case sensitive, which is interesting. So let me go and let's see. I want to see how many people clicked on it the other way. So I actually, let's sign out of here somehow. I'm going to sign in again with a different Twitter account because I saved this link twice. And I don't want to log in as Funeral Waddle, so I'm going to come up to here and say sign out. I'm going to sign in as the other account. No. Where did I save it? I must have saved it under one of my many other Twitter accounts. I saved it underneath there, and that is actually the lowercase. No, this is it right here. I'm going crazy. It's right here. So this link has actually been clicked on 319 times. So I can now go to Chris and say, Chris, our public document that link has been accessed directly by this link over 400 times in the past 3 days.
Make it 5.
And she'll say make it 5, and so I will say, okay, fine, I'll go tweet it out again. And then we can change that. They should be able to break it out to get some more statistics here. Where was it shared? It's hard to see because of the way the projector is working here. Let me drag it back in. Yeah, you're not going to see the content, but you can see where they're clicking on it. They're clicking it on Twitter. They're clicking on other sites. Ustream.tv is where they're finding it. Unknown sites, direct clicks, so people are going to it directly. Who is sharing this content? Colorado Virtual Operations Support Team is sharing this content a lot. So you get some statistics on where the clicks are coming from. That's Bitly. I have 3 other tools I'm going to show you real quick. Topsy.com. I believe it's Topsy.com. Look at this. Okay, I can come in here, type in SMEM training 15, our hashtag for this, and then look at this. I'm going to get some statistics. Hopefully it's going to load. Look at that. Cheryl Bledsoe, hello, she's listening in. So I can see the statistics, the stats right here. Look at me. I am eating my first lobster. Isn't that exciting? So when you are monitoring, you can see all this stuff. Look at it. It says past 2 days, past 7 days, 246 tweets. So according to this, there have been 246 tweets to this hashtag. Now, I guarantee you there's been close to 500 tweets during this class, but most of you are forgetting the hashtag, which is why it's not showing up here. That's a lesson though. When you're monitoring, don't get stuck on your single hashtag. Try to do other things. I've actually learned that if you're trying to look for the trouble spots in your community, start putting in curse words in your search term and you'll start finding your trouble spots in your community real fast. You also might get your boss's attention if you're doing it at work. So keep that in mind. Point being there, get off the beaten path when you're trying to monitor. Try to find where other people are at. That's Topsy.com. Notice these are all free tools, and free tools come limitations. So the API for this, it says back past 30 days, but notice the number here doesn't change from 246 to 246. Now, part of that could be this class has only been going for 3 days, but there's going to be limitations to how much data it gives you for free. Most services are going to limit the data that you get for free. Let's look at another example. Tweet reach. You can type in your search terms again. It wants me to sign in with Twitter. Okay, fine, I'll sign in with Twitter. Make sure I remember what account I'm in. Give it a chance to think. It's going to process. Shouldn't take it too long because there's not that much content in here. There you go. This is going to give you a little bit more tweets. Now again, free tweet, this is only showing 50 of an estimated 253 total tweets. So if I wanted to get the full report, I'd have to shell out some cash. But I can get some basic idea of what's going on here. Within those 50 tweets, 5,951 accounts were reached. We reached over 11,000 impressions. And then you can see who's the top contributors based on those 50 tweets that they're monitoring. And statistics, what time have people been tweeting, etc. So apparently we dropped down after lunch, something like that. So you can see some interesting things there. Let's try one more tool. Tagboard.com. I like this tool because let's pick a more generic tool. What were we doing before Iditarod? 2015? Let's try to see what happens when we do that. I believe, yeah, this is pulling from multiple streams, multiple accounts. The last two tools I showed you were just looking at Twitter. This is looking at, you see this is coming from Facebook, that's coming from Twitter, this is coming from Instagram. So here's a nice monitoring tool that you can use to look for pictures and whatnot on using a single tag search. You're looking at multiple different platforms. Okay. So I've thrown a couple different ideas at you. Again, the list of apps that we have put together is available within the Google Doc or Google Drive folder. We have about a half hour, 20 minutes, 25 minutes to do some exercises. And in order to do that, I'm going to pull that up on our screen so you can see what we want you to do. Bear with me while I get down there. Okay, other third-party tools. We want you to wait for it to catch up. We want you to practice shortening up a link. That's something that you'll use all of the time. You can either create an account with Bitly, or you can just use the free service. When you go to Bitly, you can throw the URL in there without even making an account if you prefer not to have an account. Topsy, you don't have to have an account. You just throw in the search in the tweet in, or the hashtag. Storify, if you want to go to storify.com and actually create your own Storify, I would invite you to do that. Or you could find the Storify that I put together and just share it on Twitter. Those are options that you have. And if you really want to go the extra mile, start up a Hootsuite account and start playing around. Go from there. You can set up an initial Hootsuite account for free, and most of the stuff that I showed you, you can accomplish for free. Once you start trying to add up an organization and have multiple people have access to the same Twitter account at the same time, that's when you start have to pay for services. Do we have any questions? We have a question in the back. Do you have the mic?
Okay, if we set up a Hootsuite account, it says to add social networks.
Yes. Once you, and I don't have the time to demonstrate that, once you set up your Hootsuite account, you have to then add the networks that you want to have access to. So you have to add your Twitter account or Twitter accounts. If you want it to play with Facebook, you have to add your Facebook account or accounts. You can only take one Facebook profile, but you can take many Facebook pages. As long as you have rights to those pages. If you want to add Google Plus accounts to it, those type of things, you have to now build that system up.
Okay.
So
we're not in trouble by...
No, you're on the right track. You just have to take the time now to add those accounts to the Hootsuite dashboard. Any other questions? Questions online? Okay, we're going to go into a practice time, and then we're going to come to our last session. And the last session is putting it all together. We're going to ask you to take everything that you've learned and run through a little bit of a scenario, and then present to us a full social media integrated strategy and how it's going to work. We'll start presenting that at 2:15 Eastern time. So between now and then, you have your opportunity to go practice the things that we have up on the screen here, and we also have a 15-minute break built in there. So between now and 2:15, if anybody online has questions, email those to nemoteams@gmail.com. Use the Ustream comment stream and tweet your questions to the hashtag SMEMtraining15. We will see you back here at 2:15.